Ever had a toothache so bad you'd try anything to make it stop? I mean, anything. Well, today we're diving into a time when anything meant something a little more creative than popping an aspirin. Welcome to the world of medieval dentistry, where the solutions were as bizarre as they were fascinating. Forget your modern dentist's office with its clean tools and anesthesia. We're going back to a time of superstition, herbal remedies, and some downright strange ingredients. Our journey begins with one of the most common and agonizing ailments known to humanity, the toothache. In the Middle Ages, they didn't have a solid understanding of bacteria or tooth decay like we do now. Instead, they believed toothaches were caused by tiny, invisible creatures called toothworms. These little monsters supposedly gnawed away at your teeth from the inside, causing that throbbing, relentless pain. The entire goal of medieval dental care wasn't about fillings or root canals. It was about evicting these unwelcome tenants and the eviction methods. That's where things get wild. Let's talk about the star of our show, the frog. Not just any frog, mind you. According to ancient texts and folklore, one popular remedy involved catching a frog, often under a full moon for extra potency, and then burning it to a crisp. Yes, you heard that right. The frog was incinerated until it became a fine black powder. This frog ash was then mixed with other ingredients, like honey or wine, to create a paste. You take this paste and rub it directly onto your aching tooth and gums. The logic, if you can call it that, was that the essence or properties of the burnt frog would either kill the toothworms or drive them out. Now, you might be thinking, did this actually work? From a scientific perspective, absolutely not. There's nothing in frog ash that would cure a dental infection. However, we have to consider the power of the placebo effect. If you truly believed that this magical, slightly gross concoction was the cure, your brain might have released endorphins, temporarily dulling the pain. Plus, the honey or wine it was mixed with could have had some mild antiseptic or numbing properties, but let's be clear, it wasn't fixing the underlying problem. The cavity was still there, and the toothworms, which never existed in the first place, were definitely not being evicted. But frogs weren't the only animal on the medieval dental prescription list. If you couldn't find a frog, perhaps you could try a mouse. Some remedies suggested taking the head of a mouse, burning it, and using the ash in a similar way. Others recommended tying a specific part of a mole to your jaw. The animal kingdom was apparently a one-stop shop for toothache cures. These practices were rooted in a belief system called the doctrine of signatures, where a substance's appearance hinted at its medicinal use. The connection between a frog and a tooth isn't immediately obvious, but it speaks to a worldview where magic and medicine were completely intertwined. It wasn't all just animal ash, though. The medieval world had a vast knowledge of herbs, and many of them were used for dental pain. One of the most common was hen. This plant is actually a powerful narcotic and hallucinogen. People would burn henbane seeds on a hot piece of charcoal and inhale the smoke. The smoke was directed towards the aching tooth. As the seeds crackled and popped, people believed these were the toothworms falling out into a bowl of water below. In reality, the worms were just the plant's embryos popping out from the seeds. The person would experience a powerful numbing and intoxicating effect from the smoke, which definitely provided temporary relief, but it was also incredibly dangerous. Henbane is highly toxic and could easily lead to poisoning. Another popular herbal remedy was cloves. This one might sound familiar, as clove oil is still used today as a temporary, over-the-counter toothache remedy. Cloves contain a compound called eugenol, which is a natural anesthetic and antiseptic. So, the medieval folks who were chewing on a clove or applying its oil to their gums were actually onto something that worked. It was one of the few effective treatments from that era that has stood the test of time and science. So, what happened if these remedies failed and the tooth was just too far gone? That's when you'd call in the barbers. In the Middle Ages, barbers didn't just cut hair. They were the go-to guys for bloodletting, surgery, and yes, tooth extraction. There was no anesthetic, no sterile equipment. The barber surgeon would use a terrifying-looking tool called a dental pelican, which resembled a pelican's beak, to latch onto the tooth. Then, with a lot of force and hopefully some skill, they would yank it out. It was a brutal, traumatic, and incredibly painful experience. The risk of infection, jaw fracture, or breaking the tooth and leaving the root behind was extremely high. It was truly a last resort for those in unbearable pain. These practices seem shocking to us now, but they were born from a genuine desire to alleviate suffering in a time before modern science. They used the knowledge and belief systems they had. The line between science, religion, and magic was incredibly blurry. a prayer might be considered just as effective as an herbal poultice. The burnt frog remedy is a perfect example of this mindset, a blend of folklore, desperation, and a complete misunderstanding of human biology. It highlights how people have always sought solutions to their pain, using whatever tools and beliefs were available to them. Thinking about it, these historical cures make you appreciate your modern dentist a whole lot more, don't they? The next time you're sitting in that chair, dreading the sound of the drill, just remember it's a lot better than rubbing burnt frog on your gums or having a barber surgeon come at you with a pelican tool. We've come an incredibly long way in understanding and treating dental health. The era of tooth worms and magical ash is a fascinating, if slightly horrifying chapter in our medical history. So, while we can have a little laugh at the absurdity of it all, it's also a humbling reminder of human ingenuity and the relentless pursuit of a pain-free life. It shows us the foundations of medicine, built on trial, error, and a little bit of magic. What other bizarre historical remedies have you heard of? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to read them. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this trip back in time, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the weird and wonderful corners of history. See you next time.